Hey everyone, welcome to Ask Reddit. This channel is created for all of you Reddit lovers. If you like Reddit stories, this is the place where you'll find the best posts and comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story is called What Disaster Happened at Your Wedding? My wedding was a disaster. Most of what went wrong was that we hired a college student to do the bartending. He came with a recommendation, so it's not like we just picked a random. Anyways, our wedding wasn't super big, about 50 to 60 people. We had the bar set up for him before he got there, and when guests started to arrive, they started asking for drinks. Apparently, this overwhelmed him, and after 50 minutes, he just left without telling anyone. My husband is from an affluent area, and I'm mountain folk. All my friends and family are mountain folks. Never leave mountain folk along with the bar full of liquor. They all started making their own drinks, and within 45 minutes we were completely out of hard alcohol, and everyone was completely hammered, which leads to a lot of other problems. First, a good friend of mine, we shall call her Rachel, gets really wild when she drinks. As I was walking down the aisle, she literally pulled out her boob and flashed me while yelling, "Yeah!" My father, who is a pervy old man, took her behavior as an invitation, and after the ceremony, made it his goal to get down her pants in front of my stepmom. Which leads to my stepmom crying, my stepbrother yelling at Rachel, and Rachel's boyfriend getting in a fist fight with my stepbrother. During the entire evening, we had several guests puking where they shouldn't and passing out in rooms that weren't part of the wedding. Behind the scenes, our caterer was 2 hours late and showed up stoned out of his mind. We ate 2 hours late, which really didn't help sober anyone up. But I will say, when it did come out, it was some of the best damn food I have ever had. My husband and I had enough by 9 p.m. and snuck out the back without saying goodbye to anyone. We laughed the entire way home about the hot mess we had just witnessed. Overall, we should have just eloped like we wanted to. And while our wedding day was a wreck, our marriage is wonderful, and tying the knot with him was the best decision I have ever made. We went to a wedding that my wife and I said won't last more than 2 years. The wedding was in a backyard of the bride's house. They had all the chairs and wedding arch set up outside. They set up a plastic tarp running down the aisle to walk on. Just before the wedding starts, dark clouds start appearing. Should have been a sign to move the wedding inside, but they invited too many people to the damn thing. Just as they start the wedding, it begins to rain lightly. The father of the bride is walking the bride down the lane and slips on the wet tarp and falls on his butt. The bride is now at the front. It starts raining harder. People start to cover up with whatever they have. Some people start to get up too. The bride turns around and says to all, "This is my wedding! No one is going to ruin it! You better all feckin' sit your butts down!" We all sit back down and the wedding resumes. It's now raining pretty good. The grass is now turning to mud. A few ladies in the crowd and the bridesmaids' makeup is now running down the faces. My wife has taken my jacket as cover from the rain. They finish the vows and kiss, and then everyone runs to the house and the garage to get out of the rain. Oh, remember how I said the grass was now mud? Yeah. Lots of people slipped and fell in the mud on the way to the house. We got to the house. Many people looked terrible from the running makeup, the muddy clothing, and soaking wet. A few of the women had to cover their chests and waists due to wet clothing becoming see-through. Most of the men were loaning the coats to the ladies to cover up. Dirty looks all around. The wedding cake that was left outside is now brought in. The rain made the decorations on the cake turn all runny and it looks horrible. The bride and groom begin to cut the cake and feed each other. They smashed the cake pieces into each other's faces, then began a food fight with each other. My friend's wife got hit in the face with a purple icing cake on her face and dress. The priest got hit with yellow icing on his white robe. There was nothing left of the cake to serve. Food that was served was still frozen on the inside and burned on the outside. The dessert was supposed to be the cake, but as said above, there was nothing left. There was a goodie bag that people got on the way out. I had a lollipop, a coupon for an ice cream cone at McDonald's, a pencil with the bride and groom's name on it, and a Halloween-sized M&M. My wife, whose dress was filthy, her makeup was out of whack, her hair was a mess, said to me that she doesn't want to see those people again for 6 months. She was so mad. The couple divorced 11 months later, when the groom came home from work and found his wife getting double-teamed by 2 guys. If you're enjoying this Ask Reddit story so far, show your love by subscribing to this channel. And don't forget to leave a comment and tell me what you think about this video. Maybe you have a story of your own to tell us. It was both the worst and greatest wedding I ever attended. The couple getting married were friends of ours. They lived together and loved each other, but were young and had not planned to get married yet. Her family found out they were living in sin and all hell broke loose. Her family told her that if she didn't marry him, they would disown her, so they decided to get married. At the ceremony, as you would imagine, her side was packed with dozens of hardcore, born-again Christians. They all looked identical, blondest and the palest group of people I've ever seen. Not one seemed able to crack a smile. To a person, they seemed to truly hate every person on our side of the church. To be fair, none of our side of the church was happy about the wedding. We all felt that they were too young and doing this for the wrong reason. But we wanted to support them anyway. Both were well liked by the group. We were all also very young, but a party is a party, right? We essentially all showed up to the church in pretty good spirits, either from drinking a bit or other fairly innocuous reasons that occurred in the parking lot. Here's the most excellent part. The family pastor, or whatever you call him, arrived and I honestly thought he was about 14. Throughout the ceremony, he kept repeating and repeating in a very serious drawl, "You must fear the Lord in order to be truly happy." Now, every time this kid made this proclamation, a wave of giggles would erupt from our side of the church and move its way to the back. This caused further glares from the other side of the aisle. He also spent about 15 minutes declaring how they must forget all their current friends and find married ones only. So we were not predisposed to be well behaved for these butthats. Throughout the ceremony, this became the mantra, and for any and all questions or comments. Well, it was a mantra of the group for years, to be honest. "Hey, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in ages." "Yeah, hi, how you doing? Great. I fear the Lord, how about you?" "Can I get you a drink?" Maybe. "Does it fear the Lord?" It was endless, and with more beer, it became even funnier. The reception was fantastic, on a beautiful lake with a barbecue. But our side, of course, attacks the lake after more beers. We had a great time, and so did the couple, just not her family. The other side was convinced we were all going to die because we were drinking and swimming. Not sure if they're worried or hoping at that point, but no fun was happened on their side for certain. Fast forward to a year later, the couple is divorcing because the bride has decided she needs to experiment with others. Many others, including their roommate. He's now a very successful scientist with a wonderful family. Not sure what happened to her, but I don't think good things. Guess she didn't fear the Lord enough. My second cousin got married in Vermont in the springtime, and the weather report called for chance of showers. As a result, they rented a huge circus-sized tent to put up covering the entire meadow they were going to have the reception in. It easily covered all 80 attendees and tables and chairs. It was massive. The meadow was also next to a pond, which will come into play a little later. Their ceremony beforehand was in a church about 2 miles away. The bride arrived via motorcycle, as her dad was in the local Harley-Davidson club. During the ceremony at the church, it started to rain outside. Just a drizzle, no big deal. The bride and groom hopped on the backs of their motorcycle escort Harleys and rode off to the reception venue. About a minute after they started off, the light drizzle turned into a full-on tropical storm winds with sleet and hail. They did not turn back, but rode through the storm to the venue. When the rest of us arrived, we found quite a scene. The tent had come off its moorings. The groom and groomsmen all had their shirts off and were wrestling the tent back into place. The bride was completely soaked through her white dress and was covered in all the groomsmen's jacket while she waited for her change of clothes to arrive. She was actually very calm and cool the whole time, even laughed it up a bit. She's a pretty rad chick. The wind was blowing so much that the pond had 2-foot waves crashing over its edge and splashing one of the tables near the bridesmaids. The rest of the guests and I all ran up to help with the tent. Just as we were getting it back in place, the wind gusted in the opposite direction and literally blew one of the bridesmaids into the pond. So things did not go as planned. The bride and groom, however, remained jovial the entire time. They were terrific and never stopped smiling. The wind died down about 20 minutes later, and we were able to have the reception, with the only downside being that there was about an inch of water throughout the meadow for a while. Everyone got drenched, but we all had a good time, and 2 beautiful people got married. One of the weddings I witnessed, and this is my favorite story. The bride was well under 5 feet tall. I thought she was a flower girl, so was like 4'6", maybe? The groom had to tilt his head to get through doorways, so 6'7" or 8 or so. Huge skinny guy. Anyway, the bridesmaid goes to give a speech at the reception, and she is already a bit drunk. This was a highly conservative Italian wedding. Keep that in mind. She starts off with, "You are probably wondering how these 2 work in the bedroom. Lots and lots of lube." And then goes on from there. I wish I recorded it, but I had no idea this was going to happen. She then said something about the bride needing to wear heels to give head, and so on. Joke after joke about the size difference, etc. She thought she was being funny. No one else did. Eventually, ushers grabbed the mic from her and physically ejected her from the wedding venue. No more speeches. No one even talked through dinner. Thanks again for watching today's episode of Reddit Stories. Leave a comment and tell me what you think about this video. Share your story, and if you want to see more of this, please like and subscribe to my channel.